Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. I'm looking at a book which we've written a review for the journals and the web. This is a book from Edward Elgar Publishing Limited, which is an independent family firm that produce high quality academic work, and one area that they do a lot of work in is intellectual property law. This particular book I think is very interesting in terms of international law, and it's called Legal Innovations in Asia. It's been written as a review by my wife Elizabeth and myself, and this book is actually this one here. It's been edited by a couple of people. We'll get into those in a minute. This is the actual book itself, as I say, Legal Innovations in Asia. It's got a subtitle, Judicial Lawmaking and the Influence of Comparative Law, and it's been edited by two people, John O. Haley and Toshiko Takenaka, and it's part of the Studies in Comparative Law and Legal Culture. That's part of the actual study area that the Edward Elgar Publishing Company produced. This is the book here. That's the spine, and then you can see at the back there's quite a lot of information if I move it up and bring it back a bit. Now what you've got is a standard structure for an academic book. You've got a very detailed index which is right at the back. You've then got standard chapter numbers. You can see that they've got actual paragraph numbering, and if we go through just to the front, let's start with the beginning. Chapter 1.1, you see how it runs through. There's actually body copy in this, so it's not actual paragraph numbering through the actual pages, but what you'd have got is detailed footnotes at the bottom, which you'd expect, because obviously as being an academic publication, it's something that does require a lot of justification. So there's a huge amount, this is the middle of the book, there's a huge amount of information which is produced. The front of the book shows you the basic title and some of the areas that they cover within the studies on comparative law and legal culture. Then you've got the contents themselves split into various parts, as you can see there. In fact, 5 parts in total. You get an idea of what's in it. Then you get the contributors, because as with all these books, because it's been edited, there are quite a lot of contributors. Then there's a foreword, which is well worth reading, by Dongsheng Zhang, and then you've got an introduction by the two editors which follows through, and then you go straight into the work itself. Part 1, Asian Law Centre, the first half century. Then we're looking basically at legal innovations in the Asian region. Now, what do we say about the book? We've given it a title, Expert and In-Depth Commentary on Legal Developments in the Asia-Pacific Region. And this is basically what we say about the book. If any publisher can be depended upon to produce books chock full of groundbreaking research on issues pertaining to global law, i.e. international law, must be Edward Elgar. International lawyers, scholars and academics seeking to extend their understanding of key legal systems in the Asia-Pacific region, for example, will therefore applaud this recently published title on Legal Innovations in Asia. The book presents a unique and valuable collection of essays on Asian law by 19 leading academics in the field, almost half of whom are linked to the Asian Law Center, the ALC, at the University of Washington at Seattle, the not altogether unknown home, of course, of Microsoft and Boeing, for example. J. Mark Ramseyer of Harvard Law School has remarked that the ALC, quote, has stood at the center of American scholarship on Japanese law, adding that its scholars have consistently produced the very best work in the field and have increasingly turned their attention to other legal systems in Asia, specifically those of China, Taiwan, Korea, and Southeast Asia, including Thailand and Indonesia. And it should be noted here that Asia, in the parlance of the Pacific Northwest of North America, i.e. the Seattle area for instance, refers generally to the countries of the Far East, including those just mentioned. Now, the book's original aim was to commemorate the founding in 1964 of the ALC, described in the foreword as one of the oldest and most fruitful programs in Asian legal studies in the United States. The chapters in this volume were originally papers presented mainly at a series of workshops and conferences held between 2012 and 2013 by distinguished alumni and faculty of the Centre. Their combined expertise is evidenced not only by the quality of the articles, but by an utterly dazzling array of academic credentials and honours. And the book's co-editor, Professor John O. Haley, of the University of Washington, Vanderbilt University and Washington University in St. Louis, USA, was awarded at about the same time the prestigious Order of the Rising Sun from His Majesty the Emperor of Japan. Not a lot of academics achieve anything like this, one must admit. His colleague and co-editor, Toshiko Takenaka, is also at the University of Washington School of Law, where she is Washington Research Foundation W. Hunter Simpson Professor of Technology Law. So you've got fairly high sort of heavy guns, if you like, coming out of these academic institutions. The editors, together with their learned colleagues, cover such areas as comparative law, the role of the courts, legal transplants, Islamic law and other issues, including intellectual property. The results are intriguing. Take, for example, the article by ALC director Dongsheng Zhang. Remember, he actually writes the foreword at the beginning. He covers civil procedure and anti-modern myths in the harmonious society. And then it's got a subtitle, China and Pre-War Japan Compared. As ostensibly a push for mediation, harmony, says Zhang, is often forced on Chinese citizens as, quote, a discursive technique deployed by the ruling elites to suppress resistance and safeguard the status quo. You've been told, although it is unlikely that you are surprised. Another paper of particular interest to both Western and Asian lawyers is the article by Harold Baum of the Max Planck Institute, who provides a summary of the Roman origins of much of Western law. He describes the processes by which it has been transplanted in Japan and also discusses the influence in Japan of modern German law. His contribution, note the editors, is a telling reminder of the universality of Western law today. Much is revealed, we think, in this fascinating volume, and much can be learned from the variety of information and insightful commentary it contains, especially considering the evolutionary and revolutionary changes that have taken place, notably in Japan and China, over the past half-century, since the Asian Law Centre was founded. Researchers, scholars and international lawyers seeking further insights into legal developments in Asia should certainly acquire this book in our view. And the publication date is cited at 2014. I'll just show you it again. It's a hardback, and you can see the front, purple, bit of the back there, nice comments. Just opening it up again, you can see right in the beginning, this deals with the Supreme Court of Japan. So there's a huge amount of information here. You notice again that the footnotes can be very long sometimes. They're not at the back of the book, but they're actually in the body copy itself. What is quite useful, for instance, there's a nice background note at the beginning quite often, which assists, I think, with trying to understand some of the information concerned. For instance, this is judicial lawmaking and the creation of legal norms in Japan. Again, I think it's very useful to have this information so we've got some idea of what is happening outside our own areas of activity. And of course, from an academic point of view, these are high quality publications. So thank you very much to all concerned, the contributors, the editors and Edward Elgar, for giving us a better understanding of where we are on legal innovations in Asia. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.